Hello, Empowered Woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. This is a special episode for so many reasons. Number one, this is a birthday episode as I celebrate 36 trips around the sun. Number two, it's an interview I've been talking about having on the show for a long time. And number three, I'm also announcing a super exciting birthday offer. So I had mentioned before how I wanted to have a human design expert on the show, and I had to make a big deal out of this, obviously. I had the pleasure of talking with my human design mentor, Eden Carpenter, whose certification course I am currently taking, and she shared her journey in starting her business with BEACHBODY, like I did, at around the same time as I did, going through nursing school and then landing on human design and all the amazing stuff that she's now doing. But that's not all. I was also on her show on a coaching episode, and I will link that in the show notes for you to check it out. And finally, I am launching my very first human design offer. It's called Signature Talk by Design, where I help you find your purpose and therefore your talk topic in your human design chart and craft a powerful presentation to showcase your life story, your purpose, and your business. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to start believing in yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed, and let your voice be heard to make an impact in the world as an entrepreneur, this is the place for you. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Hi, Eden. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Marta. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited about this interview. This is something that I've been mentioning on the show for the longest time. I didn't know exactly who it was going to be, but I am so grateful that to talk about human design, I am having my very own mentor. So this is super, super fun. So I would love for you to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive right in with more questions.
Yes, absolutely. My name is Eden Carpenter, and for the past several years, I've been teaching human design specifically for business coaching, online entrepreneurship, coaching specifically. That kind of world is where I've been living. And I've recently made a pivot from that direction to using human design to talk more about relationships, connection, family dynamics, and communication, since that has been the primary area of my own life that I've been applying it to the last year or so. So I've had this like business in the background. And then this personal life has been really loud the last year and a half or so. And so I've gotten the amazing opportunity to bring human design into deeper layers of my relationships, my family dynamics, all sorts of areas that I'm excited to talk about, and then hopefully help other people learn how to communicate better at an energetic level.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's so important. And I'm so excited about this shift of yours. Quick backstory, and then we'll get into a little bit of how you got into human design and the evolution of your business, because I feel like that's super interesting. And that's one of my favorite things about talking to entrepreneurs is to seeing how everybody's journeys is so unique, but with many commonalities in the general themes of confusion. What am I doing? Am I, messing my entire purpose and life up? All the things. Because last year, towards the end of the year, like right around this time, it was when I started diving deeper into Catherine Zenkina's content. And then I wasn't even expecting, honestly, to sign up for Manifestation Babe Academy. But, the way things are, I was put in that position of, I cannot spend 2022 buying another strategy course. Buying another course is going to tell me how am I going to get to $1 million? How am I going to sign up all of the clients? I couldn't do it anymore. I just could not. And then, so working with Catherine was what I felt like the majority of the year. It just felt right for me to spend more time in 2022 working on my inside more than on my business to really figure out where the business direction was going. And in knowing Catherine, knowing that she started with BEACHBODY and, network marketing, and whenever she shows some of her videos, I was like, oh my gosh, I understand that so deeply. And to see where she is now, it's just incredible. And I had had connections with human design before in other business courses that I had taken last year. And once she started diving deeper and she kept mentioning this Eden lady, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And she's saying, this is an amazing mentor. I took my certification with her. And then she shared, your name and how to find you and stuff. So I started following you and I started seeing the content. Again, no intention in getting certified in human design. It's like an amazing tool. And then in being in your mailing list, I was like, oh my gosh, maybe this is more now than some other time, later. And here we are now. But all of this to say, I would love for you to share, because then I learned that you started with Beachbody too. And I was like, oh my gosh, all these commonalities. And then the fact that you are a 6-2 as well, although you're a manifesting generator and I'm sacral, emotional manifesting generator, and I am sacral generator. It's been helpful to see when you apply the 6-2 in the content to being like, okay, so this makes sense to me. This is how I operate, so everything has been super inviting. So I'm very grateful that we're doing this, but I'd love to hear the evolution of the business in whatever capacity you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually credit Catherine Zankina for getting me into entrepreneurship in the first place.
Oh, wow.
She was doing Beachbody and I found her as a friend on Facebook. I remember early days of her in Beachbody. I was there for, I've been following her for the past probably 8 years now on the internet. She lived in the same town as I did at the time. So we actually lived in the same area. And then my cousin was a school friend of hers. And so they both started doing Beachbody together. And I was like, I want to join Catherine's team. And she's like, oh, well, because your cousin is my downline, you sign up under her. And so I signed up with my cousin. We started doing Beachbody together. Catherine was on all of these calls. She's talking about manifestation. She's talking about all of these things. She's, teaching, mindset and, personal development. She was really into the personal development. I just loved that about her. So she got me into Beachbody pretty much. And then after she left, I think I actually left Beachbody before she did. I don't know. I didn't last very long. I got really frustrated with the whole structure. But then I was just kind of in this limbo of, I guess, maybe the online world isn't for me. I'm going to go back to school or really focus more on school at the time. So I was really focusing on nursing school and I wasn't testing well. That was the biggest thing is I've been homeschooled almost my entire life. I did 1 year of actual school in my senior year of high school, but everything before that was homeschooled. And so I don't really have a lot of test taking or high pressure taking a test, recalling information practice. Of course, I've done a couple standardized tests before that. So I started learning about how do you learn? How do we understand how to learn? How can we integrate information better? How can we remember it, recall it, all of that? So that got me into this psychology world. And then I noticed that there was a blend between the books that were popping up that were recommended for me and stuff that was related to manifestation and related to money and related to mindset. And so I just got onto this personal development kick. And then I was in a psychology class that led me to the Myers-Briggs personality types, where I got really, really obsessed with just a system that allowed me to understand people. And I didn't realize how much I was just trying to understand myself through this self-evolution journey. I mean, not many college kids are reading hundreds of personal development books and listening to only personal development podcasts and only educational content. And so I was just really obsessed with how can I become better and how can I learn more about people? How can I use this information that's really clicking and helping me see the world in a different way? How can I apply that to actually helping people in the real world? And so Catherine Zankina posted something on her Instagram stories about someone asking what her human design type was. And I was like, what's human design? So pull up this chart and I'm shapes and colors. And the first thing I remember is oh, of course my heart looks empty. No one's ever going to love me or something along those lines. And so I found this system and I looked at it and it was way too complicated. And so I said, you know what? No, I've got this Myers-Briggs thing. This makes sense. I'm kind of understanding it. I've spent so much time on this already. This works for me. I don't need another system. And then it started showing up absolutely everywhere. People who I was following accounts related to the Enneagram and, Myers-Briggs and things like that. And they were talking about human design for the first time, ever. And then it was just popping up everywhere. And I was like, okay, obviously this is really loud. Let me just look into it a little bit more. But then I was sitting in the same lecture hall I learned about Myers-Briggs. So it's a psychology class. And there's a glitch on the slide on the PowerPoint. And my professor was not a professor to use PowerPoints. He never had a presentation. This was, I think, was the only presentation he had in his entire class. And there was a glitch on one of the slides. And I was like, oh, of course, he's just like not super tech savvy. But we were talking about like human behavior and something. There was like a quote, but the words human and design were next to each other. And like everything else is kind of this jumble of text, but those are the only words that are clear on this slide. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, this has to be some sort of divine intervention, because like we're in a psychology class in a lecture hall. They're not talking about human design. Like this is a glitch, but those words have been showing up absolutely everywhere for me. So I went home and I pull up my computer. Oh, it's 11:11 right now. Just pointing that out. Nice. Beautiful. Yeah. I went home and I pull up my chart on one side, Google on the other. I'm like, okay, what's a manifesting generator? What's an open center? What do the colored shapes mean in human design? Just all of the questions that you start with. Mm-hmm. And with my chart, I have 7 defined centers and 2 undefined. So in my brain, it made sense to just check off all the undefined things first, since there was less of them. So I was reading about the undefined G center and how the undefined G center, when it's out of alignment, can have this non-self theme of searching for a sense of identity and searching for this sense of lovability and like, who can I be in order to be loved? Who can I be in order to be valued, to be seen, to be treasured, cherished, like all of the things. And I was like, oh my God, it just like zoomed me out so much to where I saw all of my behaviors for the last several years of like, maybe if I go into Beachbody coaching, I'll make enough money and I'll be lovable. I'll do something that other people will be proud of me for, and that'll make me more lovable. Maybe if I can prove myself as a nurse, I'll go the traditional way. Like maybe then I'll be more lovable. This seems like something that like makes sense and will make other people happy. There was just this people-pleasing tendency and theme throughout every big decision that I feel like I'd made, other than like marrying my husband. I'm perfectly happy with that. But like career-wise, everything I was doing was coming from the space of, I just want to be loved. And I didn't realize how much I didn't feel like I was loved, even though I had evidence of it all around me. And so I just remember crying. And at that point, I'd switched over to my phone. So I'm laying on my bed. And like nothing had ever read me that deeply. Nothing had ever like hit me to a core and pointed out a pattern. Like, yeah, the Myers-Briggs, like it made sense. I was like, yes, I can kind of get myself into that. But it was also, I chose those results. When you're taking a quiz or you're taking an exam like that, it's a self-assessment. And so it's subjective. It's not going to be objective. Versus human design, it's based off of your birth information. Yeah. And so like, I can't say, oh, well, I feel like I was born at this time. There's a birth certificate that has a very specific answer to like what's on the birth certificate. And so it just felt so strange to have something that like was outside of me telling me this thing about me. And so I'd never felt that seen before, got hooked, got obsessed with it, started reading all of the books. And immediately I saw how it applies to learning and how I could use this information to get better grades in college and to perform better in college. So I started working on like my routines and my rituals, and I became a better student. I started testing really, really well. I started getting I got offered positions in the anatomy lab to teach. And then I was like praised for like, you're just so confident. You're such a good teacher. I got all of the teaching positions. All of a sudden I was running study groups that I previously would have been like terrified to even attend. And so all of a sudden it's like, I know what I'm doing and I know how to move through the world and make decisions because I'm secretly using this esoteric system in the back of my head. And everyone else is just like, you're just such a good student. You're so smart. I'm like, no, that's not it. So yeah, then I made an Instagram. I've been posting a couple things around like sharing my planners, like the gratitude rituals I was doing, some of the school stuff that I was doing, just like an outlet to talk to my like 100 to 200 followers or whatever. And then I decided that I was ready. I was in nursing school at this point. So it was probably 2 full years of my undergrad, like just working like prereqs before the actual nursing program. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was like working with my design for those 2 years. And then right around the time that I went to nursing school, I wanted to learn it from a broader perspective. Like I'd read about projectors and I'd looked at my siblings' charts, but it just wasn't clicking the way that my design was clicking. And so I started offering free readings. I put it out on my Instagram of like, hey, just DM me your birth information and email address. Nothing sketchy at all. I don't know any of you. I've never, like, no one's ever commented on my stuff. Like, I'm talking to crickets out here. Maybe someone will send me their information and I'll do a free reading. And I ended up getting over 150 requests in 6 weeks. And so I did over 150 free human design chart readings, where I made a little PowerPoint and I talked about your type and your strategy and your profile and your incarnation cross and your centers. And they were probably like 20 to 40 minutes each while in nursing school. Wow. Very Manny Jen of me. And then as a follow-up with those free readings, I was like, hey, if you're interested in diving deeper, let me know. We'll set up a discovery call and we can do some coaching, because I had a couple of people ask, like, do you offer coaching around this? So that's how I got my first couple of private coaching clients in February of 2019. Yeah, February of 2019. And then I was making a couple $1,000s every single month from coaching. They asked me to teach a course on human design. So I created Life by Design, just a very basic very foundational course. And we're editing it now. And it's really interesting to just see the perspective change in like 3 years. But then that led to people like asking more questions, like, oh, you're building a business like this. You have coaching clients, like your clients are getting really amazing results and you're getting really good feedback. Like, how do you coach other people? And so I started talking more about money and I started talking more about business, and it was really just like responding to what was in front of me. That led to launching the human design certification, which has been an absolute cornerstone of my business. That's what allowed me to quit my nursing job very shortly after getting it.
Wow.
And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is so fun to hear, because as you're teaching inside the certification, you share bits and pieces of the story, but to have everything put together from the very beginning stages, it's very fun. So thank you so much for sharing. This is so cool.
Of course.
Well, and this was really helpful to me to understand, but for the listeners out there that are like, I still have no idea what this human design thing is. Why do I care? Why is this important? Because we're just having the side conversation here, except for the people that already know you and human design. I'd love just a quick rundown of what it is. Obviously, it's been super helpful to you, to your clients, to your audience, and to me, but coming directly from the expert, I feel this is important.
Yes, I like to describe human design as an esoteric awareness system. So it's astrology based. We're using your birth information. We're looking at planets. So same as you would like run a natal chart. The thing is that it's a little bit more blended with things like psychology, and you're actually essentially using an experiment or the scientific method to test out hypotheses and really gain awareness over your personal experience. So the chart's going to tell you about how you make decisions, the energy that you give out, the ways that you feel, all of these things. And the whole process of deconditioning or working with your design is to test it out and see if you believe that it's true or not. And so it's going to give you these questions and these prompts that allow you to take action in your life and then observe it and then see if you agree with the human design system. If you don't agree with it, why you don't agree with it. But it really empowers you to trust yourself and your own interpretation of who you are, how you feel, how you show up in the world by giving you these prompts and asking you, like, do you resonate with this? Do you not resonate with this? Is this actually how you feel? Is this not how you feel? And so it's about fine-tuning your understanding of, like, you are the most unique individual in the world. Everyone is absolutely 100% unique. Yes, we may have similarities, but if you boil us down, every single person is absolutely unique. Like, I have brothers that are identical twins, and even them, absolutely unique individuals. And so this is known as the science of differentiation. And it's about learning how different you are from everyone else in your world. Because when we understand our differences, when we understand what differentiates us, that's what makes us unique. We also understand how to accept other people, how to accept their differences, how to accept and honor and respect their boundaries, their processes, just the way that they naturally are. And so, yeah, it's a beautiful system that allows you to communicate a little bit better, understand yourself more, question your reality, and learn some fun things in the process.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's such a exploration journey and I love that you said about the prompts, because it's really what it is. You start thinking about things that you haven't thought about, and then you start paying attention to those things because you've been prompted. So then you can get some answers and really compare. And it's it's fun to be doing it in a group and with other people too, because you get to see how you're different from them. I mean, it's helpful to compare with other people too. And the whole twins being different totally resonate there with me having triplets. They're not identical, but still it's just fascinating. And I know that that's the big reason why I've been so drawn to this, to Enneagram, all these other tools too, because I'm fascinated by the fact that these kids are so different, which says a lot about me and everybody else in the world, right? With being born at a different time. I love what you said about the first thing that drew you to it was seeing your undefined G center and starting with that. Because I feel like for me, a similar experience was when I started understanding my undefined throat as well and being like, borderline triggered. I don't do this that you're telling me that I do, but I do. So I guess my next question is for the people that may feel overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming. All the people that will feel overwhelmed once they pull up their chart and they're like, I have no idea. This is Greek to me. What is your recommendation in terms of what to focus on to begin with? And then if you decide to go down the rabbit hole, how do you do that?
I don't think there's a right or wrong way to approach human design. I really love that you can pretty much start anywhere and you'll learn really cool things. Yeah. And so I think it would be a great, like if you've never seen your human design chart before, just go to it, run it, get your chart, and then just see where your attention is drawn to the most. Because I told you when I pulled up my chart, the first thing that popped into my mind was, oh my gosh, like, of course, my heart space is like open. Like I'm like lacking there. That was my immediate first thought. And so it's so interesting that that has been the area of the most work, the most growth, the most wisdom that I've accumulated over the like 6-7 years that I've been working with the system. And so just notice, like, look at it like a child. Where is there a lot of activity? Where is it really lit up? Where does it feel like there's a lot of space? We're looking at anything that's colored in is we're going to call that defined, and everything that's white, we're going to call it undefined. And I don't really like that language because it makes it feel like it's something that you have and something that you lack. And the undefined energy is actually where you're untethered. It's where you're free to experience whatever it is if you're able to surrender to not like surrender control, because control means like I have a specific process for this, and the undefined energy is where we're here to learn, we're here to witness, we're here to experience the variety that's available to us. So with my undefined G center, that's the center of self, love, identity, direction, purpose, where you're going in life, who you are. And so all of my actions have been kind of looking at like, can I be this person? And so when I'm out of alignment, I will try and be a person for other people. It's people-pleasing tendency, but it's also looking at like, oh, if I was more like this person, then I'd be lovable. If I was behaving more like this person, then I would be better. If I had a business like this person, or if I was showing up like this person, it's really capturing that essence of like who they are. And, the manifestation world was really triggering with that as well, because it talks so much around like just embody the identity of the version of you who has that. Yeah. And that's never worked for me because in my undefined G center, it's not about creating that identity. It's about surrendering to who I am in the moment. And so instead of saying, I am, embodying the version of myself who is already doing the things, I get to come into just really feeling into the present moment of who I am right now and the things that I'm doing, the habits that I have, the thoughts that I have, the feelings that I'm having right now in this moment, and deciding that this version of me is worthy of love. And this version of me is equal to whatever it is that I desire. And this version of me is magnetic. And so it's being able to decide that you're magnetic and decide that you're lovable in all of your forms, instead of in the moment saying, oh, where's that feeling that reminds me that I'm lovable? Versus people who have that defined can create that sensation consistently. And so there's so much power in being able to navigate any situation and be able to say like, no, it doesn't matter what happens. I know that I'm lovable. I know that I'm headed in the right direction. I know that I am magnetic. I know that I trust myself. And so there's a lot that you can learn from that. But yeah, if you're just finding your chart, there's so many different things that you can do with it. You can look at the centers. I think the centers are a great place to start. You can play with the profiles. You can go into your type, strategy, and authority. I think that's always a great foundational area to explore as well. But I would just be curious to know, like, what's the thing that's standing out the most to you and why is it standing out to you? Just get curious. There's no right or wrong answer here. And if your body feels like there's a right or wrong answer here in fight or flight, you should focus on that instead of too much of your human design chart.
Oh, that's beautiful. And even what you said about the manifestation, because there's so many different things that we are told, like this is the way, and not just the manifestation, but business or whatever it is. And then if that doesn't work for us, we also ultimately think there's something wrong with me. And then instead, and I feel like human design can help with that approach of it, there is no right and wrong, and I will just see what's working for me and what resonates with me. Then we can transfer that in every other aspect of life and just really become curious. Like for me, as you were speaking, I was like, instantly when I learned about what an undefined throat was, the fact that I felt triggered by that said something about me right there and then, which is, I'm very resistant to accept criticism or to have people telling me you're doing something wrong. Like it's very hard for me to accept that. And that's in my chart, it's there. Everything is explained there. And it's just a matter of exploring it and giving yourself time, not wanting it to be. And I think that's also a difficult side of it is let's follow the steps, right? Because we learn a lot about that in terms of building a business too. What is the first thing you need? What is the second thing you need? And then here you are saying, well, just start wherever it lights you up. That is so foreign to everything that we learn in life, not just business, but life in general is like.
I mean, even thinking about like the beginnings of my business, most people would say that if you're going to build a business, start with like a free offer and then do like, I guess I did the free readings as a freebie, but it wasn't coming from this like intention of if I create a free offer that I'm going to build my email list and then I'll be able to send them this email sequence and then I'll be able to upsell them into a low ticket offer and then eventually get one-on-one clients. It was this essence of like, I want to do this so that I'm learning. And once I started getting the feedback of like, oh my gosh, you're explaining it in a way that like really makes sense. Mm-hmm. Once I built that confidence in myself, I was like, okay, the next way that I know how to help these people and the way that they're asking for it is opening up some coaching spots. I've done a couple of coaching sessions here and there. I've, helped out with some counseling. I have some psychological training with my nursing background. I guess maybe I can offer these sessions. And it wasn't really like anything deep. We were really just learning about their chart. We were going through and exploring the things, but that's not the traditional way of building a business. That's not the right way to do it. And like, I pride myself on not doing the right thing the whole time and still allowing it to be successful because there is no right or wrong way. And if we're coming to like, we can get very philosophical here with thinking about the concept of truth. Even in science, things are only true because we have not been able to prove that they are untrue yet. Mm. We only believe like truths, laws are only truth and law because we've collectively decided, we can't really prove that it's not true. So let's just collectively believe that. But to 100% believe in one thing, you also have to have 100% faith in about 10 other things as well. Mm-hmm. And so it's, you can get into this whole loop of like, what's true, what's the right answer. And so, the people who believe that there's a very specific funnel or there's a very specific formula for building a business, they also believe in about 10 other things. They believe that people make decisions through psychology and that sales is about, number of times of exposure. And like, they have a very specific perspective where they look at things and they believe like 10 other things, not just that program or that strategy is the best, but there's a whole other network. And so if you're coming into that and they're telling you, you have to use this formula, if it doesn't, if you don't have faith in the 10, 15 things that they believe to be true, that's not going to work for you. You're going to sit over here and you're going to say, okay, well, I can see that might be an option, but I don't believe that people buy versus like based off of exposure, or I don't believe that people do it this way, or I don't believe that. If you have beliefs that are different, all of a sudden, that strategy is not going to work for you because you don't have faith in it. Yeah. You don't believe in it. Your energy's not behind it. And so if you're putting an effort for something that you're like, I don't know if this is going to work out, you're not going to be surprised when it doesn't work out, which means you're in a neutral state. And like, that's the key to manifestation is, not getting too attached to the outcome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that makes so much sense in terms of I'm going to do this thing and then it doesn't work. And then we get frustrated and we either think there's something wrong with them or there's something wrong with us, which leads me to I do want to talk more about your transition in terms of your business and talking more about relationships, because I feel like this is really the key anyways to succeed in business, is for you to take a closer look at yourself. And I speak from experience in dedicating this entire year to being like, screw all the strategy. I've done enough of that. Obviously, it was important for me to have done that to be where I am today, but still, I need to understand myself better so that I actually feel fulfilled with the things that I am accomplishing. And that's my own personal journey. But that said, tell us more about this importance of understanding yourself, understanding the people around you to make better decisions that are in alignment with yourself. And I know we talk a lot about alignment and integrity, which I love how you differentiate those two and talk about that and how you can find all this in your chart. So fun.
Yes. Okay. I'll start with alignment versus integrity, because I think that's one of my favorite concepts to talk about. I believe that alignment is the connection and just that inner sense of knowing where you're going. And so I see manifestation as the ongoing process of making improvements and intentionally going towards a goal that you are trying to create, like creating it yourself, taking personal responsibility for your life, all of those things. Can you hear my dogs barking?
Yeah, that's okay. Mine will probably bark at some point too.
My husband's home, so he should get them in a second.
Okay.
There's just people in our backyard. So alignment is the connection between where you are and where you're going. It's this essence of like, I know that this desire is coming from my soul. It's not coming from me wanting to be more lovable. You know, I fully accept who I am right now. I love who I am right now. And I know that the version of me who I am right now really wants to go after this thing. So that's alignment. And then integrity is staying true to yourself throughout the process of getting there. And so if I think about manifestation, kind of like a GPS system, alignment is putting in your destination. It's making sure that the destination that you have put in, the address is correct. And then your car, like once you hit start, your car is attached to that line, right? It's attached to the line that you can see on the map that's connecting your car to the final destination. And that changes sometimes, right? Like you make a turn or there's a traffic jam or there's a suggestion or whatever it is, it'll change sometimes. But the whole time you're still connected to that final goal. You're not like, oh, well, I guess we're not going anymore. I guess it's never going to happen. You're just okay with it moving back a few minutes. Like, oh, we made a wrong turn. No big deal. Hey, I needed to stop for gas. No big deal. I'm still going to get there. I'm still connected. So it's this faith and this like everlasting, this essence of like, I know it's going to happen regardless of what happens between now and then. I'm getting to this destination. And then integrity is deciding to show up along the way in a way that's aligned with you. And so what I mean by this is you can get to your destination really quickly, but you could be driving like a complete asshole. You could be cutting people off. You could be not using your signals. You could be rushing. You could be running lights. Like you could be completely ignoring the rules of the road and get where you want to really, really fast. However, that's not safe for you and it's not safe for the people around you. And if you think about it, like anytime I'm rushing somewhere, anytime I have like been speeding or driving a little bit faster, I'm anxious. I don't feel good. I'm mad at the people around me. Like, why are you moving so slow? Move over. You know, this is the fast lane. Like you're going 10 miles under the speed limit. Why are you doing that? You're just in this frustrated state. And so the whole time, the whole experience is frustrating. And then you get to your destination, you still feel like you're late. You're in this energy of frustration. And so by integrity, I mean that I believe the energy that you're in when you're creating something it's like the ingredients that you're using to create the final product. And so if you're putting in a lot of bitterness, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, you can't be surprised when the final result of the creation that you've made with the energy of anger and bitterness results in more anger and bitterness. You can't create from a certain state and then expect the outcome to completely change you. That's saying like, I'm going to get to my destination, even though I'm driving completely recklessly and I'm possibly harming people and cutting people off and like possibly causing accidents in my wake. But I get there and then all of a sudden I'm happy and chipper and I'm like relaxed. Like that's not going to happen.
No.
You're still going to have that energy in your body of like, oh, this one car would not move, or you get to your destination like, oh my God, why was this guy driving a golf cart on the road for 10 miles, you know?
Yeah.
You're frustrated about it, and then you carry it with you. And then you're not in this like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you. Look, I brought you a gift. Like I stopped along the way. You're not in the energy that you want to be. And so integrity to me is really making sure that every step along the way, you feel how you want to feel.
Yeah.
And so that requires that you trust your alignment and let go of the timeline, saying, I'm okay being there 2 minutes later. Because in the grand scheme of things, 2 minutes of getting to the destination in that world, in that location, that doesn't matter. But 2 minutes when that could potentially cause an accident, or that could harm me, that could harm someone else, that's not worth it. That's not worth it for me. And so I'm really intentional around like relating that to business and things like that. I know the life that I want to live, and I know the business and the impact that I want to have. And in order to do that, I have to make sure that it's sustainable. And so I'm looking at, I've been talking about business for a while, and Katie Calder said this on her Instagram the other day, but for Manny Gens, the more we do something, the less exciting it gets. And I've been talking about business for a couple of years now. And so I'm realizing even in like Q&As and in the different settings where I'm being asked those questions, I'm disappointed and I'm sad and I'm not happy and I'm not excited about being able to answer those questions anymore. And so for me, a sustainable business is one where I'm encouraged to be my best self. I don't have to force myself to answer business questions because I think that I will be loved more if I do. Because also like the answers that I give, they're half-hearted. They don't have that zing that I know that they can have. And so I just looked at, where is my excitement? Where is my joy? Where is the satisfaction? And I've been explaining human design to all of my kids' siblings. I've been talking about, the family trauma that we went through and how like my experiences, like how I took things and how I've changed that. And how I'm looking at things from a more psychological perspective and just encouraging them of like, no, it's okay that you feel like that. Like, yes, even though it wasn't terrible, like it's still okay to have trauma, because trauma is not necessarily the severity of the experience, but it's how alone you felt in the moment when you were dealing with it. And so I was able to explain that to them. I've been talking about like healing that stuff and not allowing it to impact you. We've been talking about purpose. All of them have sent me their partners' charts, and we've run connection charts, and we've talked about relationships, and we've been talking about, dating and love and, all of those things. And it's been so exciting to just have that conversation where they're curious about their people. And with my Undefined G Center, this is again where it gets to be a really cool gift, because it's something that I'm not attached to doing in a very specific way. It's something I see really clearly in other people. And I can see all of the potential for who they get to be. So I see people, like I understand people. And that's something that comes up over and over and over again as people say, I just love how you see me. You make me feel so seen. I love the perspective that you have of me. And so that's kind of part of the shift, is that I understand people and I just want to talk about people, and I don't want to talk about working with people specifically to make money. I don't want to have an end goal. I just want to be able to detangle whatever wires are crossed in the connection, in the communication, in the relationship dynamic. And so that's me staying in integrity. I'm still showing up. I'm still bringing this information to the world. I'm still, responding. I know as a Manny Gen, I'm going to go through phases. And so I'm really dedicated to making this pivot and going into this new direction in a way that's, of course, in alignment with me. Because when I do it for me, I'm doing it for all of us. My alignment supports everyone. There's no way that the universe would say, hey, this is aligned for you, but it's going to ruin lives. It's going to absolutely ruin everyone else's lives. Like, yes, you're going to be happy, but then 100 people are going to be like absolutely miserable. They're going to lose their houses. And that's just not how the universe works. If it's an aligned desire, it's not going to cause harm. It's going to create opportunities, but it's what's aligned for me is aligned for everyone that's involved. And so when I choose that perspective, it makes the difficult decisions easier, because the aligned decision is not always the easiest one. It is not always the one that feels good. It's not always the one that makes the most sense. It's the one that is the right decision in that moment. And so, choosing that and being able to make those difficult decisions sometimes for the sake of alignment, for the sake of integrity. That's where I think human design has been so powerful, because it can show me where I'm possibly going to not want to make the wrong decision or not want to make the right decision, the reasons why I'm not going to want to stay in alignment and integrity. And so I can challenge myself on that. I can call myself out and say, hey, you're really searching for love here. You're really thinking about things that do not matter. You're prolonging this experience because you won't commit to a decision. And I can create situations that are not just more aligned for me and that feel better for me, but also feel better for the people that I'm involved with and the people that are around me as well.
Oh, this is so good. And also, I was thinking you're doing such a great job in being a role model to all of us as a 6'2", in helping people understand it's not about getting there just for the sake of getting there. The GPS analogy is amazing. I so resonate with it, and on so many levels, with achieving certain things and being like, is this it? Like, I thought I would feel different. But if you were getting there in a way that is not within your integrity, oh, this is so good. Then that's why you are arriving to where you wanted to arrive, but not with the correct energy. And how many people are living like this in life and also with their business, because they listen to people saying, this is the next goal you should have. And it's like, okay, great, I'll get there. And then you feel miserable and you don't know why. And then you think there's something wrong with you, or you think there's something wrong with them testing that goal. Oh my gosh. It's just such confusion, as opposed to focusing on how you're doing it more. And then there's something else that people say, let go of the how. So it's like so much confusion. But no, this is so great, and it makes so much sense. And I hope people have been excited about your shift the energy, because I know that's scary for you to have built a business doing something so specific and then saying, this is not what I'm doing anymore. But it looks like the feedback has been good.
Oh yeah, I definitely got the signs when, like, everyone a couple of months ago was like, where's the business? Like, just teach me everything you know about business. And so I created a business academy, and I hired support coaches for it. And I put together the team, and I put together the curriculum and the structure and everything necessary for a 12-month program talking about business. And we did the launch runway. We had the ads, we had the Facebook, or the podcast series. We did the whole launch that we've done every single time, and we had 0 people enroll. Wow. And so I had all of these people saying oh my gosh, it looks really cool, it sounds really interesting, but I don't know, there's something about it and it's just not right. It's just not the right time for me. And so, I navigated that. I'm like, okay, we've, put several months of effort into this $0 launch. What's the next step? And so the next step was I'm like, okay, well, we have SSDC scheduled to run again. Obviously, we'll open that up. And then the enrollments were really, really low for that as well. But then we opened up the scholarships, and we had 150, almost 200 people apply for scholarships. And I was like, okay, so there's interest here. We just need to adjust some things. So I've shifted, and I've, adjusted, and I've really responded to the things that the universe has given me. Yeah. And then taking a step back, right now, if I was still locked into another 9 months of talking about business in a business academy, I would be miserable. I would be absolutely miserable. And so I'm so grateful that the universe didn't let people buy that program, because I would be trapped. I would be stuck in a commitment that is no longer aligned for me. And so in the moment, obviously I was angry. Obviously I was frustrated. That didn't make sense to me. I'm like, I'm doing the right things. I'm saying yes to this. I'm responding to the invitations, or I'm responding to the things. What do you mean this isn't working? But looking back now, I'm so grateful that it didn't work. And then with the shift with SSCC, it's giving me the clarity of yes, it's okay for me to move on. Yeah. And just because this has been super successful doesn't mean that and just because some people are still asking about future live rounds, I don't have to run it again, ever. If it's not aligned for me, it's not aligned for other people. And I fully expected to watch my followers just drop. I was like, I'm going to lose 5,000 followers today when I announced it on Instagram and everything. And there has been some fluctuation over the last month or so. It's been a lot of fluctuation, several lost 1,000 followers, but also gained. So it's around the same. We've actually maintained this audience. And so I actually think that, a lot of the messages that I got, so heartwarming, absolutely so heartwarming. Everyone's like, I love this for you. This makes so much sense. I'm more interested in this than the business content anyways. And so it tells me that this like identity that I had, all I could see was people asking me for business because that's all I was valuing in myself.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying, like, this is what people love me for. This is what I haven't been able to deliver well enough yet, right? Like it was a whole identity thing, and it wasn't actually coming from a space of alignment. Because when I look at every single like year-long plan or 6-month plan or the things that I want to do next, it's always started with business, but it always has turned into like, I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about connection. I want to talk about people, family dynamics. I want to talk about health and wellness. Like that's always been there. And so I realized I'm like, okay, how long am I going to hold myself back in this phase because I'm frustrated because I don't feel like I'm doing it right?
Yeah.
And like, that's really where I was, is I didn't feel like I was doing it right. And like, I messed it up. Like I'm not giving people the results that I want to be giving them with my business content, like, or they're not understanding it. And I know that I can teach it better. So it's this cycle of like, no, I have to fix it. I have to fix it. I have to fix it. I have to fix it before I can move on and talk about what I really want to do. And so it was just a deeper level of like, I will hold myself in an identity to people please, but really the people weren't even pleased with that. You know, like they didn't really care. They're like, oh, cool. You're talking about business content. Awesome. It's not really resonating with me. No big deal. Yeah. But, you know, no one on the internet was like, you're not making business content anymore. I'm going to unfollow you. They're curious about the way that I talk about human design because no one talks about it the way that I talk about it. Like they're interested in me. They're interested in my energy. They're interested in watching this Nanny Jen journey that I'm on and that I'm sharing. It's not about me being able to give them fun facts they're going to be able to turn around and make money with. And putting all of that pressure on myself of like, I have to be creating free content that can get people results. I have to be creating low cost content that can get people even better results. I have to create high ticket content that's like epic and absolutely life changing. And if it doesn't turn you into multimillionaire overnight, then it's not good enough. And, you know, just putting like more and more expectations and pressure on myself because I was ashamed that I didn't want to be feeling that. Like I was ashamed that I didn't want to be talking about that anymore. So long story short, but yeah, we can pivot.
Yes,
we can change.
Oh God.
And it's so amazing. Like I was just so happy to pivot. And like I had someone singing to me in a voice note. She sent me a voice note of like, this is what the world needs. And she was like singing it to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm being serenaded by my audience. Like they're not angry at all about this change in direction. They're so excited about it. The feedback's been amazing so far.
Oh,
so yeah, it's so good.
So many layers and so many lessons in all of this. And as I'm listening to you talk about this, well, first of all, thank you for sharing the behind the scenes and the thought process and, you know, the frustration and that it wasn't just smooth sailing, but, you know, the specifics, the steps of what it all happened. And I'm hoping that people that are listening are applying this to their situations as well in thinking, wow, so maybe I'm doing this because I think I'm supposed to be doing this. People are actually not asking or wanting this. I mean, so many levels. Like, let's re-listen to that section right there and really think about our own decisions and our thoughts and where we're taking our business, because we can just get trapped in the motions of everything and not really ask ourselves, right? Is this really benefiting me? Is this in alignment? Am I doing this out of integrity? Wow. All of that is just so helpful for anything, and especially for business too. So in closing, I would love to ask you, because I usually ask my guests to go through the 5 steps in the framework that I have in my business and in my book and all the things. So I'm super curious to see what would come up. And something else that I wanted to ask was, what can we expect in 2023? You know, out of your offers and all of your things. So if you want to sprinkle some of that in, that'd be fun too. And then I'll ask you how to find you and all the things. But let me walk you through the 5 steps and you tell me what comes to mind. And this is what's fun because, you know, it's different for everybody. Either, you know, a word, a sentence, a story. Go for it. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
I forgot to tell you I was doing this, but I know you can handle it. So the first one is notice yourself.
I'm present.
Mm-hmm. Nice. The next one is listen to yourself.
I'm pleased. Yeah, I'm satisfied. My body's satisfied today.
That makes me happy to hear. The next one is forgive yourself.
Yeah. There's some big decisions that I've had to make over the last couple of days that, I'm not quite ready to share it on the internet.
Okay.
But there are some things that I'm definitely ready to forgive myself for.
Nice. Next one is empower yourself.
Ooh. It's safe to trust myself. Mm-hmm. It's safe to be confident.
Mm-hmm. And last but not least, transform yourself.
To shake it out.
Yes, shake it out.
Shake your energy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for playing along.
Of course. Those were fun answers.
How we can find you. Yeah, this is fun. How we can find you and any fun things that you have top of your mind for 2023 that you would like to share, whatever.
Yeah, I have lots of things planned for 2023 so far. I'm revamping my entire business website, all of the things. It'll be a couple of months of construction. So if things are a little bit confusing, please just reach out to us like via email or DM, and we're happy to clarify anything. But we are bringing a lot of our business content and money content. We're retiring it, or we're creating self-paced programs there. So we're kind of creating this like archive, this library that you can go through. So it's still accessible, but I'm not going to be promoting it or talking about it very much. It'll be very two-line of like this thing, this hidden gem that you can find if you want to, all of these resources. And then we will be moving into relationships, and that's going to be my next focus. So at the end of this month in November, so November 22nd, we're doing the Self-Centered Masterclass, and that's going to be probably a 2 to 3 hour masterclass on connection charts and relationship dynamics. And then I believe, and of course, emotional authority, I believe next year I will be running some version of, like, I know it's going to be called Sacred Relations. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's going to be a connection chart focused kind of association of my certification program.
Okay.
Where I'm going to be teaching people how to use human design to like run their own connection charts, like relationship coaching, things like that. So I'm really excited for that kind of next big project. And then moving on after that, we'll talk about pentacharts. So family dynamics, business dynamics, team dynamics, things like that. And then we'll be moving into the variables and talking about health and wellness and nutrition and nourishing your body. So we're really moving into like relationships and lifestyle and away from being an entrepreneur, because when your life is in alignment, it supports your business being in alignment.
Right. So many exciting things. I am so excited. It'll be fun. I'll definitely be paying attention and seeing what you come up with. That'll be so cool. Well, what's the best place to connect with you? You mentioned DMs, Instagram, email.
I am on Instagram at I am Eden Carpenter. That's the best place to hang out with me. That's where I share most of my content. You can probably get lost on my page for a couple of hours.
Oh, yeah. I have.
Me too.
So fun. Well, thank you so much, Eden. This was so great. I so appreciate your time and sharing all these amazing things.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a delightful conversation.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. Wasn't this conversation amazing? Don't forget to connect with Eden. You can also go listen to her coaching episode on her podcast with me. The link is in the show notes. And finally, take advantage of my birthday offer. It's only $36 and you're going to get the blueprint to your signature talk by design. The link is also in the show notes. Until next time, bye.